there are moments, rare, unrepeatable moments, when something shifts in the unseen before it ever reveals itself in your physical world. And right now, this very second, you are standing inside one of those moments. Not tomorrow, not later tonight. Now, you didn't just click this. You didn't randomly stumble across these words while scrolling without purpose. Something deeper pulled you here. Something beyond logic. Something beyond coincidence. Because if this message has reached your eyes before night comes, then hear this clearly. You are already inside the window. Have you felt it? That strange tension in your chest today, like something is about to happen but you can't explain what? That unusual silence in your thoughts, or maybe the opposite. An overwhelming flood of questions you can't seem to quiet. That subtle feeling that something is off, but also something is aligning at the same time. That is not anxiety. That is not imagination. That is awareness. Because something sacred has just been unlocked, and it didn't open for everyone. There are thousands, millions, going about their day right now completely unaware that a spiritual shift has just taken place. They are distracted. They're busy. They are asleep to it. But you were pulled here. You were paused. You were positioned. And that changes everything. Because when heaven opens a moment like this, it does not stay open long. There is a reason urgency is pressing on your spirit right now. The reason these words feel heavier than ordinary messages. The reason you feel like you need to keep listening, keep leaning in, even if you don't fully understand why yet. It's because time, in this moment, is not moving the way you think it is. There is a narrowing, a closing, a divine countdown that has already begun. And before night comes, something must be seen. Something must be recognized. Something must be received. Not tomorrow. Not when you feel ready. Not after you overthink it. Now, because the truth is, there have been moments before this where something tried to reach you and you brushed it off. That gut feeling you ignored. That sign you explained away. That inner voice you silenced because it didn't make logical sense. But this moment feels different, doesn't it? Heavier, clearer, more direct. Almost like something, or someone, is refusing to let you look away this time. That's because this is not just a message. This is an interruption. A divine interruption designed to stop you in your tracks before something unfolds, something you are not meant to face unprotected. And here is where it becomes real. There are forces, movements, shifts already in motion around your life. Things you cannot yet see, conversations you haven't heard, outcomes forming in the background. But at the same time, there is also protection being prepared. A covering, a shield, a presence that does not arrive randomly. It arrives on assignment. And the moment you recognize it, the moment you align with it, everything changes. But here is the line you must not miss. This protection is not automatic. It is activated. And it is only activated by awareness. That is why you had to see this before night comes. Because once the night falls, symbolically and spiritually, distractions increase, clarity fades, and the opportunity to step into alignment becomes harder to access. You are not being rushed, you are being warned with precision. And right now, something in your spirit is responding. You feel it. The quiet pull, that inner voice saying, "Stay, don't skip, this matters." That is not fear. That is recognition. Because deep down, whether you can explain it or not, you know this moment is real. And this is only the beginning. Type "I am ready" in the comments if you feel this message stirring your spirit. Blessing code 1717 is now activating around you. What you are experiencing right now is not just a feeling. It is not just heightened awareness or emotion. It is something far more precise, far more intentional. A spiritual opening has just taken place, and you are standing at the edge of it whether you fully understand it yet or not. This is what heaven calls a portal. Not a physical doorway you can see with your eyes, but a divine access point where the distance between the spiritual and the natural becomes thinner, clearer, and more responsive to alignment. This kind of opening does not happen randomly. It is not triggered by chance, and it is not available to everyone at the same time. It is activated by timing, by readiness, and by assignment. And right now, all three have converged in your life. That is why this moment feels different from anything you have felt recently. There is a stillness, but also a pressure. A calm, but also a pull. It is as if something is waiting for you to step forward, even though you cannot yet see what lies on the other side. The portal that has opened is not about escape. It is about access. Access to clarity where there has been confusion. Access to protection where there has been vulnerability. Access to truth where there have been questions you could not answer no matter how much you thought about them. This is why your attention had to be captured now, before the distractions of the night begin to settle in. Because once this window begins to close, the clarity you feel in this moment will not be as easily reached again. You must understand something important. Portals like this do not stay open indefinitely. They are precise. They are intentional. And they respond to awareness. This means that the moment you recognize what is happening, the moment you lean into it instead of pulling away, the portal begins to respond to you. It begins to align with you. It begins to release what was waiting behind it. But if you ignore it, if you delay, if you treat this moment like every other passing thought, then it begins to fade just as quietly as it arrived. That is why there is urgency in your spirit. Not fear, but urgency. Because something is being made available to you right now that was not available before. Think about the patterns in your life recently. The things that felt stuck, delaying, or unclear. The situations where you kept asking yourself, why is this not moving? Why does this feel blocked? Those were not random frustrations. They were indicators that something needed to shift at a deeper level before movement could happen on the surface. And now, that shift has begun. This portal is the bridge between what has been stagnant and what is about to move. It is the connection point between your current state and the next phase that has been waiting for you. But crossing that bridge requires awareness. It requires you to recognize that this is not an ordinary moment, and that your response right now determines what you carry forward from it. You may not see angels standing before you. You may not hear an audible voice calling your name. But the evidence of this portal is in what you feel. The sudden clarity. The heightened sensitivity. The awareness that something important is unfolding even if you cannot yet explain it. These are not random sensations. They are signals. Signals that you are standing in a space where heaven is closer than it has been in a long time. And there is a reason for that closeness. Because something is approaching your life that requires preparation, not reaction. Something that will test your clarity, your peace, and your ability to stand firm in what you know to be true. This portal has opened not just to bless you, but to prepare you. To position you in such a way that when that moment arrives, you are not caught off guard. You are not overwhelmed. You are not unprotected. Instead, you are aligned. But alignment does not happen automatically. It happens through awareness and response, through stillness and recognition, through choosing to stay in this moment instead of dismissing it. Because the truth is, many people are given moments like this, but very few stay present long enough to receive what is being offered. You are being given that choice right now, to lean in or to look away, to recognize or to ignore, to step forward or to stay where you have been. And this is where everything begins to shift. Because the moment you choose to remain present, the moment you decide that this is not something to brush off or postpone, the portal begins to release what it has been holding for you. Insight begins to sharpen. Peace begins to settle. Protection begins to form, even before you fully understand how or why. This is why you had to be here now, not later, not tomorrow, now. Because this portal is not just open, it is waiting on you. Type "I step into alignment" in the comments if you are ready to receive this moment. Blessing code 2020 is now activating around your path. There is a question rising within you right now, even if you have not spoken it out loud. Why you? Out of all the people moving through their day, scrolling, thinking, living without awareness of this moment, why were you the one pulled into this message, into this exact timing, into this precise alignment? That question is not accidental. It is part of your awakening. Because the truth is, this was not assigned randomly. You were not selected by chance. You were positioned by design. There is something different about you that you have felt your entire life, even when you could not explain it. A sensitivity, a depth, an awareness that often made you feel out of place in environments where others seemed comfortable. You noticed things others ignored. You felt shifts others dismissed. You questioned patterns others accepted without resistance. And because of that, there were moments where you wondered if something was wrong with you. Moments where you tried to silence that awareness just to feel normal. Moments where you doubted your own perception because it did not match what others were saying or seeing. But what you thought was a burden was actually preparation. That sensitivity was never meant to confuse you. It was meant to guide you. That awareness was never meant to isolate you. It was meant to position you. Because people who are chosen for moments like this do not move blindly through life. They feel first. They sense first. They recognize before others even realize there is something to recognize. And that is exactly why this message found you. Because you are capable of responding to it. Think about the path that led you here. The challenges that forced you to grow faster than you expected. The situations that made you question everything you thought you understood. The relationships that shifted, the doors that closed. The moments where you felt like you were being pulled away from what was familiar without knowing what was coming next. None of that was random. None of that was wasted. It was all refining your awareness, sharpening your discernment, and preparing your spirit to recognize moments like this when they arrive. Because not everyone would stay. Not everyone would listen. Not everyone would feel the weight of this moment and choose to lean into it instead of dismissing it. What you did. And that is the confirmation. You are not here because you are perfect. You are here because you are receptive. There is a difference. Perfection is not required for alignment. Awareness is. Willingness is. The ability to pause, to listen, to feel something deeper than surface-level distraction and recognize that it matters. That is what separates you in this moment. That is what makes this encounter personal. And there is another truth you need to understand. Being chosen does not always feel like a blessing at first. Sometimes it feels like pressure. Sometimes it feels like isolation. Sometimes it feels like being misunderstood or out of sync with the people around you. But that is because you are being positioned for something that requires a different level of awareness than what is common. You have already been experiencing the signs of this. The way certain environments began to feel uncomfortable even when nothing visibly changed. The way certain conversations no longer held your attention the way they used to. The way your intuition started speaking louder, even when you tried to ignore it. These were not random changes. They were indicators that you were being prepared for alignment. And now that preparation has brought you here, this is the moment where everything begins to make sense, not all at once, but in layers. The confusion starts to clear. The patterns begin to reveal themselves. The awareness that has been building within you finally finds direction. And with that direction comes responsibility. Not a burden, but a calling to stay present, to stay aware, and to not fall back into the patterns of ignoring what you know is real. Because once you see, you cannot unsee. Once you recognize, you cannot return to unconscious movement. And that is why this moment matters so much. Because it is not just about what is being offered to you. It is about what you are now capable of receiving. You were chosen because you can handle the awareness. You were chosen because you can recognize the shift. You were chosen because you are ready, even if part of you still feels uncertain. And that uncertainty does not disqualify you. It confirms that you are stepping into something real. So do not question why you are here. Recognize that you are here because you are meant to be. Type "I am chosen" in the comments if you receive this truth. Blessing code 3030 is now activated around your purpose. As this truth settles into your spirit, understand this: every time a message like this reaches a soul who is searching, a light is being lit in a place that was once covered in darkness. When you support this mission, you are not just giving, you are sowing seeds into hearts that are waiting for divine direction. The word says, "Give, and it shall be given unto you," and in this moment, that promise is alive and breathing over you. I feel led to say this clearly. When I step forward in faith and release what I can, I become part of the flow that carries truth to those who need it most. This is not just support. It is alignment with a greater purpose, a river that continues to reach lives across unseen distances. There is a reason the opportunity is placed before you now, because your response carries weight beyond what you can see. As you give, you activate something not only in others, but within your own path. Step into this moment and act with intention. Something is shifting now, and you can feel it if you are still paying attention. The atmosphere around you is not the same as it was just moments ago. There is a quiet heaviness, but not the kind that drains you. This is different. This is the kind of presence that settles, that surrounds, that stabilizes everything within you even when you cannot see what is happening outside of you. This is the moment where the message begins to move from awareness into activation. Because Archangel Michael is not distant in this moment. He is not symbolic. He is not a concept or an idea meant to comfort you. His presence is purposeful, precise, and active. And when he draws near, something always begins to change. Not in noise, not in chaos, but in alignment. The kind of alignment that shifts things behind the scenes before they ever become visible in your life. You may not see him with your physical eyes, but your spirit recognizes the shift. That sudden stillness you feel, that sense of being watched but not in fear, in protection, that awareness that something has just stepped into your space without making a sound. That is not your imagination. That is presence. Because when a divine shield begins to form, it does not announce itself loudly. It builds quietly, layer by layer, around the one it is assigned to protect. And right now, that process has begun around you. Understand this clearly. This shield is not just about defense. It is not just about blocking what is coming against you. It is about positioning you in a way where what is not aligned with your path cannot reach you the same way it once did. It changes access. It changes outcomes. It changes the way things interact with your life from this moment forward. But here is the truth most people do not realize. A divine shield does not form randomly. It is placed with intention. and it responds to alignment. This means that what you are feeling right now is not automatic for everyone. It is happening because you stayed present long enough to recognize the moment. You did not scroll past. You did not dismiss the pull. You did not silence the awareness rising within you. And because of that, the process has begun. Archangel Michael's role is not passive. He is a protector, a guardian of divine order, and a force that stands between what is assigned to you and what attempts to disrupt it. And right now, he is positioning himself in that exact place, not just around you but between you and what you cannot yet see. There are things that have been moving toward your life that you are not fully aware of yet. Situations forming, conversations building, outcomes preparing to reveal themselves. Some of them are neutral. Some of them carry intention that is not aligned with your peace, your clarity, or your path. And that is why this shield is being placed now, before those things fully reach you. Because protection is always most powerful when it is activated before the impact, not after. And this is where everything begins to deepen. As the shield forms, it does not just protect your outer environment. It begins with you. Your thoughts begin to settle. The noise that was clouding your clarity starts to quiet. The emotional weight you may have been carrying without realizing it begins to lift slightly. Not completely, not all at once, but enough for you to notice the difference. That is how you know this is real. Because the first sign of divine protection is internal alignment. You may begin to feel less reactive, less pulled by distractions, less influenced by the things that would normally shift your focus without you noticing. This is not coincidence. This is the effect of the shield taking form, stabilizing your inner state so that what happens around you does not control what happens within you. And this matters more than you realize, because what is coming next will require that stability. It will require that clarity. It will require that ability to remain grounded even when something attempts to disrupt your peace. And without this shield, that would be much harder to maintain. But now, something has changed. You are not standing in the same vulnerability you were in before this moment. You are not as exposed as you were before this message reached you. You are not as unprotected as you may have felt earlier. Something is forming around you, even now, as you listen, as you stay present, as you continue to recognize what is happening. And the more you remain aware, the stronger it becomes. This is not about fear. This is about preparation. Because when Archangel Michael steps in, it is never without purpose. It is never without reason. It is always because something is about to shift, and you are being positioned to move through that shift with protection already in place. So stay present. Stay aware. Because this is only the beginning of what is being formed around you. Type "I am protected" in the comments if you feel this shift taking place. Blessing code 4141 is now surrounding your path. There is something you must understand now, and it may feel uncomfortable to hear, but it is necessary for you to receive it with clarity. Not every moment carries equal weight. Not every opportunity holds the same level of consequence. And this moment you are standing in right now, this is one of those rare intersections where your awareness will determine your outcome more than anything else. Because what is unfolding is not just an invitation. It is also a warning. You have already felt the pull to stay. You have already sensed that this is different from the countless messages, distractions, and passing thoughts that usually move through your day. But with that awareness comes a choice. A very real, very present choice. To remain aligned or to drift back into the familiar patterns that have kept you unaware in the past. And here is the truth that must be spoken clearly. If you ignore this moment, nothing dramatic may happen immediately. There may be no sudden sign, no visible consequence that makes you realize what you missed. Life may appear to continue as normal, but beneath the surface something will shift. The clarity that is available to you now will begin to fade. The sensitivity you feel in this moment will begin to dull. The awareness that is guiding you right now will slowly be replaced by distraction, doubt, and noise. And that is how the opportunity closes. Not with force, not with fear, but with quiet distance. Because moments like this rely on presence. And the moment you disconnect, even slightly, the alignment begins to weaken. Not because you are being punished, but because you are no longer positioned to receive what was being offered. Think about the times in your life when you felt something important and you ignored it. That inner voice that told you to pause, to pay attention, to take a different direction, and you chose comfort instead. You chose delay. You told yourself you would come back to it later. And later never felt the same. That is because awareness has timing. It arrives with precision, and when it is not received, it does not wait indefinitely. It moves on. It shifts. It becomes harder to access in the same way again. And this moment carries that same weight. There is something forming around you, something being prepared for you, but it requires your alignment now, not later. Because what is coming next in your life will not wait for you to become aware. It will arrive whether you are prepared or not. And the difference between being overwhelmed by it or moving through it with clarity will come down to what you do right now. If you ignore this, you may find yourself reacting instead of responding. You may find yourself confused in situations where clarity was available to you. You may feel like something is off, but you cannot quite understand what it is or why it feels that way. And that confusion can lead you back into patterns you have already outgrown. This is not meant to create fear. It is meant to create awareness. Because the truth is, you have already outgrown the version of yourself that would ignore moments like this without thinking. That is why you are still here. That is why you are still listening. That is why something within you is refusing to disconnect, even when it would be easier to do so. You are being called to a higher level of awareness, and that requires a different level of response. Archangel Michael's presence in this moment is not only about protection, it is also about positioning, and positioning requires participation. It requires you to remain present, to remain aware, to not allow the distractions that will inevitably come to pull you away from what you now recognize as real. Because distractions will come. They always do when something important is happening. You may feel the urge to check something else, to move on, to return to what feels familiar and comfortable. You may even feel a sudden wave of doubt, questioning whether this moment is as significant as it feels. That is not coincidence. That is resistance. And resistance often appears strongest right before alignment is fully established. So this is where your awareness becomes your strength. Not in reacting, not in overthinking, but in choosing to stay. Choosing to remain in this moment long enough for it to fully settle within you. Long enough for the clarity to take root. Long enough for the protection that is forming to complete its process. Because once it is complete, something changes permanently. Your perception shifts. Your responses change. Your awareness becomes sharper, more stable, more consistent. But that only happens if you stay present long enough to receive it. So do not treat this like a passing moment. Do not assume you can return to it later and find it in the same form. Because this is happening now for a reason. And your response now determines what follows. Type "I will not miss this" in the comments if you choose to stay aligned. Blessing code 5151 is now anchoring your awareness. There is a reason why this moment feels so intense, And it is not just because of what is being said to you right now. It is because something deeper has already been happening around your life, something you have felt long before you had the words to describe it. You may not have called it a battle. You may not have recognized it as something spiritual, but you have felt it in your thoughts and your emotions. In a way, certain situations seemed heavier than they should have been. This is what you must understand now. Not everything that affects you is visible. Not everything that influences your life happens in ways you can clearly trace or explain. There are movements, pressures, and forces that operate quietly, subtly, shaping outcomes, shifting emotions, and influencing decisions without ever announcing themselves. And you have been experiencing that. Think about the moments when your mind felt crowded for no clear reason. When you were trying to focus, but something kept pulling your attention away. When small situations felt overwhelming, or when your peace was disrupted without anything obvious triggering it. Those were not random moments. Those were signs, indicators that something was pressing against your clarity, testing your stability, and attempting to pull you out of alignment without you fully realizing it. This is the kind of battle that does not come with noise. It does not appear as something you can easily point to and say, "That is the problem." Instead, it works through subtle shifts. A thought that feels slightly off. A doubt that appears without warning. A distraction that seems harmless but slowly pulls you away from focus. And over time, these small shifts begin to create a pattern. A pattern of confusion. A pattern of delay. A pattern of feeling like something is not quite right but not being able to fully understand why. And that is where the battle has been taking place. Because when clarity is weakened, everything else becomes harder to navigate. Decisions become uncertain. Emotions become unstable. Direction becomes unclear. And when that happens, it becomes easier to fall back into familiar patterns, even when you have already outgrown them. But here is what changes everything. You are no longer unaware of it. This moment is not just revealing what is happening. It is exposing it, bringing it into your awareness in a way that removes its ability to operate quietly in the background. Because once something is seen, it can no longer influence you in the same way it did before. And that is why this section matters so much. Because the battle you have been feeling was never meant to defeat you. It was meant to test your awareness, to see whether you would recognize the patterns or continue moving through them unconsciously, to see whether you would pause and question what you were feeling, or simply accept it as normal. And now, you are no longer in that place. You are beginning to see the difference between what is truly yours and what has been influencing you from the outside. The difference between your natural state of peace and the disruptions that have been trying to pull you away from it. The difference between clarity and confusion. And that awareness changes everything. Because the moment you recognize the battle, you stop fighting it blindly. You stop reacting to it without understanding. You stop being pulled into it without realizing what is happening. Instead, you begin to observe it, to notice when something feels off, to recognize when your thoughts are shifting in a way that does not align with your clarity, to step back instead of stepping into patterns that no longer serve you. And this is where Archangel Michael's presence becomes even more important, because he is not only forming a shield around you, he is also standing within this space of awareness, strengthening your ability to recognize what is happening in real time, to see clearly what once felt confusing, to remain steady where you once felt unstable. This is not about creating fear of something unseen. It is about removing the confusion around what you have already been feeling. Because now you can name it. Now you can recognize it. Now you can choose not to be influenced by it in the same way. And that is where your strength begins to rise. Not in resisting everything around you, but in understanding what is happening and choosing your response with awareness instead of reaction. You are not in the same position you were in before this moment. You are no longer moving through this blindly. You are aware. And awareness is the turning point. Because from this moment forward, what you feel will no longer control you in the same way. What tries to influence you will no longer go unnoticed. What once felt overwhelming will begin to lose its hold, because you are no longer responding from confusion. You are responding from clarity. And that is what shifts the outcome. Type ISE clearly now in the comments if this truth resonates with you. Blessing code 6161 is now strengthening your awareness. Something is happening within you right now that goes beyond simple understanding. It is not just that you are hearing these words or following along with the message. It is deeper than that. There is an activation taking place, subtle but undeniable, and it is awakening a part of you that has always been there but has not always been fully engaged. This is your awareness shifting from passive to active, from occasional to consistent, from something you notice sometimes to something that begins to guide you intentionally. You have always had this ability, that quiet knowing, that inner sense that tells you when something is right or when something is off. But there have been times when you questioned it, times when you overrode it with logic or dismissed it because it did not match what others were saying. Times when you felt something clearly, but chose to ignore it because it was easier to follow what was familiar than to trust what you could not explain. But now, something is changing. The awareness that once came and went is beginning to stabilize. It is becoming clearer, more consistent, more present in your everyday experience. And this is not happening by accident. It is happening because you are now in a position to use it. This is what activation feels like. It does not come with noise or dramatic signals. It comes with clarity, with a quiet confidence in what you feel, even if you cannot fully explain it yet, with a growing ability to recognize patterns, to sense shifts, to notice details that once went unnoticed. It is the difference between reacting after something happens and recognizing it while it is happening. And that difference is powerful, because when your awareness is active, you are no longer dependent on external confirmation to understand what is going on around you. You begin to trust your perception. You begin to recognize that what you feel has meaning, that what you sense is not random, that your intuition is not something to question but something to refine. You may have already noticed this starting to happen. Moments where you sensed something before it became obvious. Situations where you felt a shift in energy before anything was said or done. Conversations where you understood more than what was being spoken. These were not coincidences. They were signals that your awareness was already beginning to activate. And now, in this moment, that activation is becoming stronger. Because awareness grows with attention. The more you acknowledge it, the more it develops. The more you trust it, the more consistent it becomes. And the more consistent it becomes, the more it begins to guide you in ways that change your experience entirely. You begin to move differently, not with hesitation but with clarity. Not with fear, but with understanding. You start to recognize when something is aligned and when it is not, and instead of forcing yourself to fit into situations that do not feel right, you begin to step back, to observe, to choose your actions with intention. This is what it means to be aware, and this is why this moment matters so much. Because what is coming next in your life will require this level of awareness. It will require you to recognize things before they fully unfold. It will require you to trust what you feel even when it is not immediately confirmed by what you see. It will require you to remain steady in your perception even when others may not understand it. And without this activation, that would be difficult. But now, you are not in that position anymore. Your awareness is no longer something that happens occasionally. It is becoming part of how you move, how you think, how you respond. It is becoming a constant presence, something you can rely on rather than something you question. And this is where Archangel Michael's presence continues to work within you. Because as the shield forms around you, your awareness is being strengthened from within. You are not just being protected from external influences. You are being aligned internally so that you can recognize what is happening in real time, so that you are not caught off guard, so that you can respond with clarity instead of confusion. This is not about becoming hyper-aware or overthinking everything. It is about becoming clear. Clear in your thoughts. Clear in your perception. Clear in your response. And the clarity is what will guide you forward. Because once your awareness is activated at this level, you do not return to the same patterns of doubt and confusion. You do not move through situations blindly. You do not ignore what you feel in the same way. You begin to trust yourself, and that trust changes everything. So pay attention to what you feel right now. The stillness, the clarity, the sense that something within you is becoming sharper, more focused, more aware. That is the activation, and it is only just beginning. Type "My awareness is active" in the comments if you feel this shift within you. Blessing code 7171 is now strengthening your inner clarity. Now that your awareness is activating and your perception is becoming clearer, there is something even more powerful you must understand about what is forming around you. This shield that Archangel Michael is placing over you is not symbolic. It is not a vague idea meant to comfort you. It is specific. It is targeted. And it is being positioned with precision against things that have already been moving in your direction. Because protection is never random. It is always aligned with what is coming. There are influences that have already tried to reach you in the past. Subtle disruptions. Moments of confusion. Situations where things did not go as expected, where something felt slightly off, but you could not fully explain it. That was not just coincidence. That was exposure without protection. That was you navigating situations without the level of awareness and shielding that is forming around you now. But that is changing. This shield is designed to filter what reaches you. Not everything that approaches your life will be able to access you in the same way anymore. Not every conversation will influence you. Not every negative intention will find a way into your thoughts. Not every distraction will pull your focus away from where it needs to be. That is what this shield does. It creates a boundary between you and what is not aligned with your clarity, your peace, and your direction. There are 3 areas where you will begin to notice this protection most clearly. The first is within your thoughts. You may have experienced moments where your thinking felt scattered, where doubts appeared suddenly, where your focus shifted without you intending it to. That was not always coming from within you. Sometimes it was influenced by external pressure, subtle energy that disrupted your natural clarity. But now, that influence is being reduced. As this shield strengthens, you will begin to notice that your thoughts feel more stable, more grounded, less reactive to sudden changes. You will still think, still question, still process, but there will be a difference. A sense of control, a sense of clarity that remains even when something tries to disrupt it. The second area is your emotional state. There have been moments where your emotions shifted quickly, where you felt affected by situations more deeply than expected, where something small seemed to carry more weight than it should have. that was part of the same pattern. External influences interacting with your internal state. But this shield begins to regulate that. It does not remove your emotions. It does not make you distant or disconnected. Instead, it stabilizes you. It allows you to feel without being overwhelmed, to experience without losing your balance, to respond instead of react. And that is a powerful shift. The third area is your external environment. This is where things become even more noticeable over time. You may begin to see changes in the way situations unfold around you. Conversations that would have led to confusion now feel clearer. Interactions that once drained you no longer have the same effect. Opportunities that were previously delayed begin to move with less resistance. This is not coincidence. This is the result of the shield altering the way things interact with your life. Because not everything that approaches you is meant to reach you. And now, there is something in place that determines that more clearly. But there is something you must remember. This shield is not permanent without awareness. It is active, but it is also responsive. The more you remain aligned, the stronger it becomes. The more you stay present, the more it stabilizes. The more you trust what you feel and continue to recognize what is happening, the more consistent this protection becomes in your life. This is not something you receive once and forget. It is something you remain connected to. Because the world around you will not suddenly become still. There will still be movement. There will still be situations that test your clarity. There will still be moments that require your awareness. But the difference now is that you are not facing those moments in the same way. You are not unprotected. You are not unaware. You are not moving blindly. Something hath been placed over you that changes how those moments reach you. And as you continue to stay present, you will begin to see that more clearly. Not all at once, but gradually, consistently, in ways that confirm what you are experiencing right now is real. This is the purpose of the shield. Not to isolate you from life, but to align you within it. So that what is meant for you reaches you clearly. And what is not meant for you cannot disrupt you the same way again. Type I am covered in the comments if you receive this protection. Blessing code 8181 is now strengthening your shield. As this divine protection settles over your life, understand that every seed released into this mission becomes a shield for someone else who is still standing unprotected in confusion. The word declares, "Cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days," and in this moment, that promise is alive over your obedience. I feel this deeply when I step forward and give. I am not losing. I am activating a harvest that reaches beyond what my eyes can see. This message flows like oil, like fire, like living water, and your support keeps that river moving into hearts that are crying out in silence. You are not just watching this unfold. You are part of it, part of a divine current that is carrying truth across nations and into lives that need awakening. Do not delay this moment, because your response carries spiritual weight and divine timing. Release your seed now and step into the blessing that follows obedience. There is a timing attached to everything you are experiencing right now, and this is the part that most people overlook until it is too late. Moments like this are not only defined by what they offer, but by how long they remain open. And what you are standing in right now is not a permanent state. It is a window, a narrow, precise, divinely measured window that is already in motion. This is why you felt urgency at the very beginning. Not fear, not pressure, but a quiet insistence that this moment matters more than it appears on the surface. Because it does. And the reason it does is because what is being activated within you and around you is directly connected to timing. There is a shift that is approaching your life, something that will unfold whether you are fully prepared for it or not. But this window you are in right now is the preparation point, the alignment point, the moment where everything can settle into place before that shift arrives. And once the timing moves forward, once the night falls, the nature of your experience changes. A nightfall, in this sense, is not just about the physical end of the day. It is symbolic. It represents a shift in clarity, a shift in energy, a shift in access. During the day, things are seen more clearly. There's light, visibility, awareness. But when night comes, perception changes. Details become harder to distinguish. Movement becomes less obvious. And in the same way, spiritually, there are moments where clarity is stronger, and moments where it becomes more difficult to access. You are in one of those moments of clarity right now, but it will not remain at this intensity forever. This is not meant to alarm you. It is meant to focus you. Because the opportunity you have in this moment is not about doing something complicated. It is about recognizing, aligning, and receiving. It is about allowing what is being activated to fully settle into you before the distractions of the next phase begin. And distractions will come. They always follow moments of clarity. You may feel it already, a subtle pull to move on, to shift your attention, to return to the normal flow of your day. That pull is not random. It is part of the transition. The closer you get to full alignment, the stronger the distractions may feel, because something is trying to pull you out of this window before it completes its purpose. But this is where your awareness becomes critical, because you now recognize the difference between a passing distraction and a meaningful moment. You can feel the weight of this experience. You can sense that this is not something to rush through or set aside, and that recognition is what keeps you anchored within this window. There is something forming within you that requires just a little more time, just a little more presence, just a little more stillness to fully establish itself. And if you allow that process to complete, if you remain here long enough for it to settle, then what you carry forward from this moment will remain with you even after the window closes. That is the key. This is not about holding on to the moment forever. It is about receiving what it has to offer before it transitions. Because once it transitions, you will move into the next phase. The phase where things begin to unfold, where situations begin to reveal themselves, where your awareness will be tested not in theory, but in real experiences. And when that happens, you will either be prepared, or you will find yourself trying to reconnect to a clarity that was once easily available. That is why this moment matters so much. Because right now, everything is aligned for you to receive without resistance. The noise is lower. The clarity is higher. The awareness is active. A protection is forming. All of these elements are working together within this window, but they will not remain in this exact configuration indefinitely. So this is your moment to fully lean in, to allow yourself to be present without distraction, to let the clarity settle without questioning it, to trust what you are feeling without needing external confirmation. Because the more you do that, the more complete this alignment becomes. And once it is complete, something shifts permanently. You carry that clarity forward. You carry that awareness into the next phase. You carry that protection into situations that would have previously affected you differently. But it all depends on what you do now, not later. Now, because this window is narrow for a reason, and you are still within it. Type I am present in the comments if you are staying fully aligned in this moment. Blessing code 9191 is now anchoring your timing. Something is about to shift in a way that you may not fully expect, and it will not require a long waiting period or a dramatic external event to confirm it. The transformation that is connected to this moment does not begin in the future. It begins immediately, not tomorrow, not after something else happens. It begins the moment your awareness locks into alignment and your presence fully settles into what is unfolding right now. This is the part that many people misunderstand about transformation. They expect it to look like a sudden change in their external world, something visible, something undeniable that proves something has shifted. But real transformation begins internally, quietly, in a way that is not always visible to others but is deeply felt by you. And that is exactly what is starting now. You may begin to notice it as a subtle shift in how you feel. A sense of calm where there was previously tension. A sense of clarity where there was confusion. A sense of steadiness where there was uncertainty. These are not small changes. These are foundational changes. Because everything that happens externally in your life is influenced by what is happening internally first. As your thoughts stabilize, your decisions begin to change. As your emotions regulate, your reactions begin to shift. As your awareness strengthens, your perception becomes clearer. And as all of these elements begin to align, your external experience starts to follow. But the most important part is this. This transformation does not require force. You are not being asked to push, to struggle, or to figure everything out all at once. You are being asked to remain present, to allow the alignment to take place naturally, to trust that what is happening within you is real, even if it does not yet have visible confirmation. Because the visible confirmation comes after the internal shift, not before. There is something else you need to understand about this transformation. It is not temporary. It is not a moment that fades as quickly as it arrived. What is being established within you right now is something that carries forward. Something that remains even after this moment passes. Something that continues to influence how you think, how you feel, and how you move through your life. You are not returning to the same state you were in before this moment. That version of you is already shifting. And you may notice this in ways that feel unfamiliar at first. You may find that things that once triggered you no longer have the same effect. Situations that once caused confusion now feel clearer. Decisions that once felt difficult now feel more straightforward. This is not because the situations themselves have changed. It is because you have. And that is where the transformation becomes undeniable. Because when you change internally, your experience of everything around you changes as well. You are no longer reacting in the same way. You are no longer influenced in the same way. You are no longer navigating with the same level of uncertainty. You are moving with clarity. And that clarity begins to shape your outcomes. There is also a deeper layer to this transformation that you may not immediately recognize. It is the way you begin to trust yourself. The way you begin to rely on your own awareness instead of constantly seeking external confirmation. The way you begin to feel grounded in your perception, even when others may not fully understand it. This is a significant shift. Because once you reach this level of trust, you no longer move through life hesitantly. You move with intention, with understanding, with a sense of direction that is not easily shaken by external circumstances. And that is exactly what this moment is preparing you for. Because what is coming next will require that level of stability. It will require you to remain grounded even when something unexpected occurs. It will require you to trust your awareness even when things are not immediately clear. It will require you to move forward without needing constant reassurance. And this transformation is what makes that possible. You are being prepared in advance. Not after something happens, but before. So that when the next phase begins, you are already aligned with it. Already stable within it. already capable of navigating it with clarity instead of confusion. This is not something you need to wait for. It is already beginning. Even now, as you continue to listen, as you continue to stay present, as you continue to allow this moment to settle within you, the shift is happening, and it will continue to unfold in ways that confirm exactly what you are experiencing right now. So do not doubt it. Do not question whether this is real. Do not look for immediate external proof. Trust what you feel, because this transformation is already in motion. Type "I accept the shift" in the comments if you are receiving this transformation. Blessing code 1010 is now activating your next phase. Now everything comes down to this moment of responsibility, and it is important that you understand it clearly. What has been activated around you is real. The awareness, the protection, the shift, the transformation, all of it has begun. But there is a role that only you can fulfill. There is a part of this process that cannot be completed without your participation, because divine alignment is not forced upon you. It is entered into through choice. You have already taken the first step simply by staying present, by not dismissing this moment, by allowing yourself to recognize that something deeper is happening. But now there is a second step, and this step determines how fully this blessing becomes established in your life. Your role is not complicated, but it is intentional. It begins with your attention. Where you place your focus from this point forward matters more than you realize, because attention is what feeds awareness. It is what strengthens clarity. It is what stabilizes the alignment that has just been activated within you. If your attention becomes scattered, if you immediately return to distraction without grounding what you have received, then the intensity of this moment will begin to fade. Not because it was not real, but because it was not anchored. So your role is to anchor it. To take what you are feeling right now, this clarity, this stillness, this awareness, and allow it to settle fully within you. Not rushing away from it, not replacing it with noise, but holding it, even for a few more moments until it becomes stable. Because once it stabilizes, it becomes part of you. The second part of your role is trust. You must trust what has been activated within you, even if you do not yet have visible proof of it. This is where many people lose alignment. They begin to question what they felt. They begin to look for immediate confirmation. They begin to doubt the shift because it does not immediately reflect in their external reality. But this is where you must be different. You must trust the internal shift first, because the external always follows the internal, not the other way around. Trust that your awareness is real. Trust that your clarity is real. Trust that the protection forming around you is real, even if you cannot yet see it. Because the moment you begin to doubt it, you weaken your connection to it. And your connection is what sustains it. The third part of your role is discernment. You are now more aware than you were before. That means you will begin to notice things more clearly. You will begin to sense when something is aligned and when it is not. You will begin to recognize when your peace is being disturbed and when your clarity is being influenced. And when you notice these things, your role is to respond accordingly. Not to ignore them, not to override them, but to honor what you feel. If something feels off, pause. If something feels aligned, move with it. If something disrupts your clarity, step back from it. This is how you maintain the alignment that has just been activated within you. Because awareness without action does not sustain itself. It requires response. And finally, your role is consistency. This is not a one-time moment that you experience and then forget. This is the beginning of a different way of moving through your life. A more intentional way. a way that is guided by clarity instead of confusion. And consistency is what makes that permanent. The more you remain aware, the more natural it becomes. The more you trust what you feel, the stronger the trust grows. The more you respond with discernment, the clearer your path becomes. And over time, this is no longer something you have to think about. It becomes who you are. You become someone who moves with awareness, who recognizes shifts as they happen, who remains stable even when situations change. And that is the true blessing of this moment. Not just what is being placed around you, but what is being established within you. Because once that is established, it cannot easily be taken away. So do not underestimate your role in this. This is not passive. This is participation. You are not just receiving something. You are securing it. With your attention. With your trust. With your discernment. With your consistency. And the more you do that, the stronger this blessing becomes in your life. Type "I hold this alignment" in the comments if you are committing to this path. Blessing code 1111 is now sealing your intention. Now we arrive at the point where everything that has been building, everything that has been forming within you and around you comes together in a single, undeniable truth. This is not just a moment you experienced. This is not just something you listen to and then move on from. This is a decree, a spiritual sealing, a declaration that what has been activated in this space is now established over your life. You are not leaving this the same way you entered it. Something has shifted. Something has been placed. Something has been secured. And whether you fully understand every detail of it yet or not, it does not change the reality of what has taken place. Because divine alignment does not wait for full understanding. It establishes itself first, and clarity continues to unfold afterward. Archangel Michael's presence in this moment was not temporary. It was purposeful. The shield that has been forming around you is not fading as this message ends. It is settling. It is stabilizing. It is becoming part of the way your life is now structured moving forward. This is what you must carry with you. You are covered. Not conditionally. Not temporarily. But intentionally. There are things that will not reach you the way they once did. There are situations that will not affect you the same way they once could. There are influences that will not penetrate your clarity the way they once did. Not because the world around you has changed, but because your positioning within it has. You are no longer standing exposed. You are standing aligned. And alignment changes everything. You are also chosen. Not in a way that separates you from others, but in a way that places responsibility within you. Because now that you are aware, now that you recognize what is real, you cannot return to unconscious patterns. You cannot move through life the same way you did before this moment. You have seen too much. You have felt too much. You have recognized too clearly. And that awareness is what sets you apart in how you move forward. It means you will notice things earlier. It means you will respond with more clarity. It means you will step away from what is not aligned instead of forcing yourself to remain in it. And that is what being chosen looks like in practice. It is not about status. It is about awareness. And finally, you are protected. Not in a way that removes all challenges from your life, but in a way that ensures you are not facing them without support, without clarity, without the ability to navigate them effectively. Because protection is not about avoiding every situation. It is about moving through situations with stability. And that is what has been established within you. There is something else you need to understand as this moment comes to a close. What you have experienced here is not isolated. This is the beginning of a different rhythm in your life. A rhythm where you become more aware of timing, more aware of shifts, more aware of moments that matter. And the more you stay connected to that rhythm, the more naturally you will move in alignment with what is meant for you. This is not something you have to force. It is something you continue. By staying aware, by staying present, by staying aligned with what you now recognize as real. And as you do that, you will begin to see confirmation. Not always immediately, not always in obvious ways, but consistently, in how situations unfold, in how you respond, in how your clarity remains stable even when things around you change. That is how you will know this was real. That is how you will know this moment mattered, because it will continue to reveal itself in your life. So do not treat this as something that has ended. Treat it as something that has begun, because that is what this truly is. A beginning, a shift, a positioning, a covering that is now established over you as you move forward. Type "I am covered" and chosen in the comments if you receive this final decree. Blessing code 1212 is now sealing your protection. As this divine covering settles over your life, understand that every seed you release becomes a shield extended to another soul standing where you once stood. The word declares, "He who sows generously will also reap generously," and this is not just written. It is alive and speaking directly into your moment right now. I feel this clearly. When I give into this mission, I am not losing. I am opening a channel through which light reaches those still walking in darkness. This message is not just content. It is oil being poured, fire being released, and your support keeps that flame burning across lives you may never see, but will forever impact. You are part of something greater, a river that does not stop flowing because hearts like yours choose to respond. Do not hesitate, because this is a prophetic act, a moment of obedience that carries eternal weight. Step forward now, release your seed, and watch how heaven responds.